Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders that took place on the 13th of November 2023. May the four victims rest in peace and condolence to their families. Brian Christopher Kohlberger is being charged for 4 counts of murders and 1 count of burglary. The case is still on gag orders. Not much has been done except the fact that the Judge John Judge, gave the prosecution up to the 1st of December to hand over the genealogical DNA evidence. We all know that the knife sheet that connected Mr. Brian Christopher Kohlberger to this case is what the defense attorneys of Brian Christopher Kohlberger is waiting for. They've been asking for that for a very long time. There were 3 male DNAs found in this case, in the crime scene and outside the crime scene. Ann Taylor has been pleading for the prosecution to submit that. Nothing has been done so far. So I guess everyone's patiently waiting for the results of that. I personally believe that there were many other people involved in this case. To start with, this case that I'm talking about right now is for entertainment purpose only. The reason I say that it's for entertainment purpose is because we don't have all the facts. So there's a lot of speculations too. But the facts that we have is that DM was a witness. She said she saw a man who was 5'11", with dark clothing, a mask, and bushy eyebrows. This was around 4 to 5 past 4 in the morning. She heard Kaylee playing with a dog, or that's what at least she thought. She opened the door and she closed it again because she didn't see anything. Then she allegedly heard Kaylee or Xana saying, "There's someone here." She opened her door once again, saw nothing, and she decided to close her door again. The third time is when she saw allegedly a man with bushy eyebrows and dark clothing. Black clothing. The man passed her by and went out of the sliding door. We don't know if the person saw Dylan or the person didn't. That's the reason that the description of the bushy eyebrows is one of the first things the police noticed when they saw Brian Christopher Kohlberger's picture. They have done a traffic stop with Mr. Brian Christopher Kohlberger in Washington Pullman in August, so I'm sure they connected that description to Mr. Brian Christopher Kohlberger. Bushy eyebrows is something that is not a very good description, to be honest. Many people have thick eyebrows, actually. Many people in Idaho, Moscow, in this case, have thick eyebrows too. In fact, thicker eyebrows than Brian Kohlberger. Then the FBI obviously has the car and the car driving around Queens Road and those areas near Kings Road, but that doesn't still convince me that it was Brian Christopher Koberger who stopped the car, went inside, did the quadruple murders within 20 minutes, and went back into his car and just drove off. I believe that there's something clearly missing in the story. There was Snapchat pictures and VSOP that Dylan posted and her boyfriend Quinn Kelly that same night on the 13th of November, allegedly. Those pictures clearly showed Dylan with a pink mask, and somebody else with a black mask. I find that to be strange because it wasn't Halloween. There was no reason somebody would go with a ski mask. I find it strange that only one shoe footprint, diamond shoe footprint from a Vans shoe was found in front of Dylan's room. And the main concern that everyone till today has is the 8-hour gap. I don't know how they're going to explain that in court. It's going to be interesting. 8 hours not to call the police is a red flag. The smell of red liquid is a bigger red flag because the police officer who came to the scene first mentioned that. He said the place had a strong smell of red liquid. So how did BF and DM sleep off in such a horrific crime? We've heard now that they were actually texting each other while the active murders was going on. So if that is true, there are questions that need to be answered. What I find to be very, very interesting is, for whatever reason, they decided to call the police 8 hours later. But when they decided to call the police 8 hours later, in fact, they made the decision to call the Sigma Chi boys first. Now that's another red flag. Why would you call the Sigma Chi boys before calling 911? I heard it's because they couldn't open Xana's door. Eaton, allegedly, may rest in peace, his body was blocking the door, I guess. So the Sigma Chi boys came to help. We all know that if an emergency happens, the first thing you do is call 911. The police are trained for such situations. The Sigma Chi fraternity boys shouldn't have been the first ones to be called. That clearly proves that the scene was tampered with, allegedly. We have Hunter Johnson, who was first on the scene, allegedly taking the pulse of Eaton. What doesn't make sense for me, trigger warning, is Hunter clearly saw the murder scene. He could see that there was red liquid overall, everywhere. He could see that Xana was on the floor. May she rest in peace. So what would make these people think that somebody was unconscious? We're not dealing with 5 years old, or 6 years old, or 10 years old. We're dealing with adults who are over 18 years old. I personally believe that this was something with the Greek lifestyle, the fraternities, sororities, due to everything that I personally have noticed, analyzed, and have spoken about in the Grub truck video. You could clearly see, at least I could clearly see, that many people were watching their phones, calling out Xana's name. That was around 2 a.m. We heard Ethan's parents, his mother, say 2 a.m. is the most difficult time for the family. So what happened at 2 a.m.? That obviously shows us that Ethan passed away at 2 a.m. He must have been pronounced dead. May God bless his soul at 2 a.m. Ethan is a Jeep and another vehicle of his, and his golf set is still frozen. So it's part of the investigation. So I wonder, was the golf set used in the crimes? Was the vehicles used in the crimes? Because Kaylee's Land Rover has been returned back. So has the other victims' items. Why not Ethan's? And I wonder why Ethan's parents took a second private autopsy on their son. Is it because they don't trust the prosecution? Is it because they know that there is more into this case than we think or we believe? It is possible. These are things I think about, because when you're analyzing something or when you're watching something, you need to watch the whole thing. Listen to what the parents say, each and every word, whether it's Steve, whether it's Xana's mother, whether it's Xana's father. The interesting thing is we hardly hear Maddie's mother talking. We've never heard Maddie's mother talking. I'm sure all these unnecessary unlivings has affected all the families. My thoughts go out to them, but I'm sure it has affected Maddie's family, especially her mother, more deeper. That was her only child. Imagine that your only child is unlived in such a manner that you can't even go to visit her grave. That is sad. So I respect the fact that Steve and his wife and the family stand up for Maddie's family too. And they stand up for Maddie. That's a blessing, because I'm sure her mother can't handle this right now. I won't be surprised. This is really traumatizing for the families. And then we have the Grub truck people just all looking like they were waiting for Kaylee and Maddie, which I found very interesting. You have the two guys who come in right before Maddie and Kaylee, if you'll notice. The skinny guy with the brown jacket, the thin guy, and the cap, and the guy with the black jacket and black pants and glasses. They pretend that they don't know each other at the start, but then they end up standing in the same place talking. One of them throws his food in the garbage, and that is clear to see. So it's strange. What is the reason for someone to buy food, to wait at least a good 15 minutes for their food, take their food, and just chuck it in the bin? Because he can clearly see it's a white big box of food he has in his hand. When he passes the bin, the food is gone. Both his arms are empty. And if you pay attention, he hops into a white car. And when he comes to the Grub truck, he gets off a white car. So could that be a white Hyundai that the police are searching for that has nothing to do with Brian Christopher Kohlberger? That is possible. We have at least 25,000 white Hyundais or Hyundai roaming around in Idaho, Moscow. So that person with the brown jacket, I find to be very interesting. I wish he was investigated more. I wish the Grub truck video was investigated properly. And I wish the Banfield video was investigated too. The reason that I say that is if you pay attention to the Banfield video, you will notice that everything started at exactly 2:54. The three boys were stopped. Saeed was stopped first, and then the three other boys were stopped. The three boys that were stopped were actually walking away from the police, like you'll know. The undercover police had to literally run after them. I've never seen such an incident in my life. I travel a lot. Right now I'm in Turkey, actually, on a holiday. I love Turkey. It's a beautiful place. A lot of history, a lot of culture. But besides Turkey, what I'm trying to say is I live in UK. It is a busy place, London especially. You see police stops often, and you never see anyone running away from the police. The first thing the police do is ask you to put your hands out of your pocket. They tell you, put your hands where I can see it. These boys weren't told that. These three boys actually continued walking in the dark, pitch black field. We don't know what they threw in the field. Could they have thrown knives? Possibly. Could they have thrown other things? Like illegal substance? Very possible. Because why would someone not stop for the police? You only don't stop for the police when you're up to no good. So those three boys and Saeed should be investigated properly. Because at 2:54, when they were stopped, while the officer was talking to Saeed, you can hear exactly at 2:55 and 16 seconds, I believe, you hear a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." And she yells it loudly. It could have been someone teasing each other, but it did not sound like that. Stop it, stop. It's somebody who's trying to tell you, stop it. Stop, basically, it sounded like somebody saying, stop it, like somebody being physically touched or dragged or pulled or whatsoever, allegedly. That's the way I see it. Because let's not forget, it's 2:55 at night. Okay, people can be intoxicated and be playing around. But for that noise to have come into the body cam of the police is kind of serious. So I believe, that's why I always say, I believe something was happening in Taylor Avenue. Between Taylor Avenue to those steps you walk up to the girl's house. I really believe something was happening there. Or it could have been on Banfield, on the other side near Sigma Chi. But I think it was actually near the girl's house or inside the girl's house. The reason I say that is because I'll try and explain it in this way. If I break it down, 2:54 is important because the stop happens at 2:54. The boys refuse to stop for the police. They walk on. They're stopped. The police don't check their pockets. Red flag number one. One of them looks like he has a black glove on. And then we see another black glove in the scene, which is part of the unidentified male DNAs. Then, at 2:55 and couple of seconds, 22 seconds or 16 seconds, you hear someone, a female, say, "Stop it, stop." Let's rewind a bit actually. Let's not forget that Maddie and Kaylee made their last call to Jack D at 2:52. So I possibly believe there's a connection here. 3 minutes after the last call to Jack D is when the girls yell, one of them yells, "Stop it, stop." The noise could have been coming from anywhere else, but most likely not. Isn't it strange that we hear "stop it, stop," and the next day 4 victims are found in such a horrific manner, unlived? That can't be a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I really do not believe in coincidence. Coincidence can happen, but not in such a manner. These were two. If it was a coincidence, that means everything was a coincidence. And that would be too much coincidence happening. That's what I personally believe. Then we have the 4 figures or 5 figures or 6 figures running at 3:12. It looked like they were running from the direction of the girls to the direction of Sigma Chi, or those areas. There are rumors allegedly that 2 of these people from the fraternities, like Sigma Chi, went to the ER, to the emergency room, because they had serious hand injuries. Strange. And it was the same people that were mentioned on the 4chan post. What is interesting is that nobody has seen a picture on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, any social media. There hasn't been a picture of Xana and Ethan between 9:45 to 1:45. So what happened to them? Could it be possible that the mobiles were taken from them? Could it be possible that they were gagged somewhere, tied up somewhere? Could it be possible that they were taking revenge on? There was things heating up between the Sigma Chi boys and Ethan, and Xana too. So how far did these people take it? I don't understand what is the connection with Brian Christopher Kohlberger in this case, and I would love to know. Because all I care, and all my family, subscribers and my channel care for, is getting justice for the 4 victims. They are our number 1 priority. The parents are our priorities. But Brian Christopher Kohlberger is entitled to correct justice. I just feel like there isn't much evidence to tie Brian Christopher Kohlberger into this case. Could it be that he was at the wrong place at the wrong time? Possible. Could it be that he was called by one of the surviving roommates? Very possible. Could he have known actually one of the victims? That's possible. He could have known the victims without harming them. Then we have Mr. Jack John Showalter Jr., aka Hoodie Guy. Hoodie Guy has a history of antisocial personality disorder symptoms, according to me. The more allegedly I've heard about him from the beginning, the more I read about him, the more I see people from the college, what has been said about him, can't be all a coincidence. The guy has a history of aggression, harassment, harassments towards females. He was kicked out of the Delta Tau Delt fraternity for such kind of behaviors. Trigger warning, he was throwing dead animals in front of sororities and frats, allegedly. So we have Jack Showalter, who was the last person seen with these two young victims, Kaylee and Maddie. May they rest in peace. Pay attention to when the girls and Jack Showalter was walking and talking about what was said to Adam. I was paying attention or observing. The girls were more talking to each other. Kaylee was talking to Maddie. Nobody was paying attention to Jack Showalter. Then they come to the food Grub truck, and it looks like Hoodie Guy seems to be avoiding the camera, clearly. So all these things can't just be a coincidence. I personally believe that Jack Showalter wasn't there to escort the girls and bring them home safely. I think he was paid, or I think allegedly he was told to make sure the girls get to a certain place, because this was all pre-planned, if that makes sense. You can see Hoodie Guy avoiding the camera. You can see Hoodie Guy paying attention to the girls. We clearly hear Maddie saying, "F you, mister." The news channel brought that out. It could have been a joke, but I don't think so. It looked like Maddie was upset with Hoodie Guy being around them. And then we see them finally running away from Hoodie Guy. I wonder what was the reason. Apparently, some girls from the sororities, or two girls from the sororities actually, have said that Hoodie Guy was thrown out of the corner club because of harassing either Maddie or Kaylee, or either some other girls. I've heard both versions, that he was thrown out because he was harassing the two victims, and I've heard that he was harassing other girls. This young man actually, seems to have a history of harassments. He has a history of throwing dead animals around after he unlived them, obviously. And if this is all true and he's aggressive, we have a serious case here of somebody who could be dangerous. We don't know where Jack D was. Jack D said he was sleeping, allegedly. And who can prove that? Allegedly Adam. I think both of them need to be investigated. I don't understand why Adam is the witness of Jack D. That means Jack D is the witness of Adam too. Doesn't make sense. Did anyone else see Jack D sleeping? Who was playing PlayStation with him? I personally believe that everyone called the FBI maybe a dozen of times and the police and blamed it on BK. Because I don't see a motive. And if BK was involved, he didn't do this by himself. Why would BK say, I'm eager to be exonerated? Because maybe he knows who did it. And maybe he's just thinking, since this case has become a mockery, or they're making this case into a mockery, I hate to use that word, so just continue and wait to the end. Let them prove their case. BK doesn't have a criminal record. Let's not forget that. I personally believe for someone to have done such a horrific quadruple murders, not even a murder, 4 quadruple, a quadruple obviously, has to be someone who has a criminal history from before, who is good in using knives. Guess what? We have hoodie guy who loves to hunt, who owns K-bar knives. Can't be a coincidence. Who's good in killing animals because he's dropping dead animals in front of people's doors, allegedly. And that's the reason he got kicked out of the fraternity. His parents rented him the room or the flat or apartment in Queens Road. Can you believe we know that he lived a minute away from the girls? These poor victims did not have a chance. They were surrounded, I hate to say, by people who want their friends. Look at any corner, they were surrounded by all the people who are plotting against them, I believe. If the girls look out of the window, the Sigma Chi boys were watching them. If they go out of their door, Inan Hush was talking about how loud the music was. And it was a party house. So that means many people had the code of this house. Many people knew the movements of this house. Many people knew who exactly goes to this house, who exactly sleeps over. And I believe personally that Brian Christopher Koberger, I've always said that he's going to use this alibi, saying that it wasn't only me in the house. Many people have been in this house. He could turn around and actually say, I knew one of the victims. And the victims are not here, unfortunately, to confirm that or not. I believe this case is going to drag on for a long time, personally. But I hope justice is served. You see a lot going on in the Grub truck. And you see a lot going on in Banfield. I wonder how much went on in the Corner Club. I wish I was a fly on the wall to have seen what the scene was like. I believe it started from there. The way even Madison was walking, may she rest in peace, and Kaylee. It was strange. I don't believe, especially Madison, was only intoxicated. I believe that a roofie could have been put in a drink, allegedly. I hope these victims get justice. And I hope everyone's enjoying their Monday. Have a lovely week. I'm here on a holiday for a couple of days. So I'm just going to try and rest and follow the case and just wait for new updates to come. But I don't think much is going to come up until 1st December. And I just had that feeling on 1st December, the prosecution and the FBI, the prosecution is going to ask the court, the judge, for more time. Because it does take time for the police and the FBI to submit all these evidence. And I believe personally, it's my belief, I've always said it for at least a good 4 months now, they don't have any solid evidence. That's why they're putting things on gag order. The chief messed up at the beginning of this case when he said that Dylan and BF, he said clearly to the Fox News reporter, I did not say that they witnessed. I said they were just there. Imagine that clear line. That is the minute I knew from the beginning of this case that something is not right. For you to say that I did not say they were witness, they were just there, that means the chief confirmed from the start that he doesn't believe the two surviving roommates is alibi. That's how I see it. Because if I was the chief and I believed what DM and BF said, I would have been with them 100% from the beginning. And I would have said, they're traumatized. Let's not discuss about them for now. The girls are witness. They've seen enough. They're victims, surviving roommates, witness. But he didn't say that. He corrected the reporter and said, no, I did not say the witness. I said they were just there. And then 6-7 weeks later on, an affidavit comes out after Brian Christopher Kohlberger was arrested. And the affidavit says, no, they weren't just there. In fact, DM wasn't even in the first floor. She was sleeping in the second floor. She opened her door thrice. She saw a man with bushy eyebrows, but the man just passed her. He was too tired to harm her too. Make it make sense. Somebody actually came and did a quadruple murder and he left a witness behind. I believe this is a lie. Somebody's lying here. Somebody is lying here. Make it make sense. No person, I believe, who unlives people will try and leave a witness behind to testify against him or her. It doesn't usually happen. Black clothing, bushy eyebrows. Isn't that a typical description of anyone? It could be anyone in this wild world. How many people wear black clothing? How many people love the black, color black? I'm wearing black clothing now. This is just unacceptable, because if BK deserves justice, and if one of the juries, one of the jurors have a reasonable doubt and BK walks free, if he's innocent, he should walk free. Then what is going to happen is the question. How are we going to get justice for these 4 victims? Let's not forget 45% of the income of Idaho, Moscow comes from the students. Half of the people dealing in this case have gone to either Sigma Chi fraternity or Idaho Moscow College, or they have some kind of connections with them. This case should have been moved to a court outside Idaho Moscow, maybe to Boise, Idaho. But then when I think of it, that is where John Showalter and his rich family come from, with good influence in the defense attorney. Allegedly. But I always believe justice will be served. Thank God for social media. Thank God for internet. Thank God that we can see with our own eyes and analyze what we see. And right now, I don't see anything for now connecting BK to this case. It is important to find out why his touch DNA was on the knife sheet. He could have been easily framed, or he could have been involved. What I'm trying to say is, even if BK was involved, which is a good chance, I don't believe he unlived people, 4 people within 20 minutes. And I would like to end by saying the most important point. Every movement and every fishy thing that was going on, all the red flags, was between 2 to 3 a.m. And in the beginning of this case, the timeline we was given was that something happened between 3 to 4. So we have a lot of movements going on, and Ethan's mother saying 2 a.m. is the hardest time. The coroner in this case said in this case that she pronounced the deaths, unfortunately, after 2 a.m. So I know it could be 3, 4 a.m., but after 2 a.m. is usually around that period. 3:12 is when the figures was running. Right up to 3:16, we actually see movements. We saw Dylan's black truck driving there at 3:01 in front of the undercover police. So pay attention to between 2 a.m. to 3:16 a.m. in the morning. I believe that is when these murders took place. Somebody, a female screaming, "Stop it, stop," was at 2:55. And it was in the body cam video of the police. You can try and listen to it properly. It's even in my channel. Chris McDonough from the interview room, who is a dedicated former detective for 30 years in San Diego, and who's now the leader of the Cold Case Foundation, Cold Cases. He found that out. He found out 2 important things in this case, to be honest. He found the glove outside the house that was one of the 3 unidentified male DNAs. And he found a very important thing, that at 2:55, or was it 2:54? 2:54, it's between 2:54 to 2:55, and a couple of seconds you hear a female yelling, "Stop it, stop." And it actually sounds like Kaylee or Maddie. I believe something happened to Ethan and Maddie, Ethan and Zana, between 2 a.m. to 2:30, because you can see the people in the Grub truck watching those sad, heartbreaking pictures and yelling out Zana and Ethan's name. I'd like to wish everyone a lovely week. Thank you all for your supportive comments, I really appreciate y'all all. Y'all have been so good to me. You're always so kind and good to me. And y'all have, oh, I love my subscribers because y'all are really intelligent. You'll come out with very smart ideas and theories. And I try to read most of them. I'm sorry, I've just been a bit down with under the weather, having backaches and such things. So I haven't been reading all the comments, but I'm going to try to do that soon. So I really appreciate each and every subscriber, viewer. Condolence to the families. May justice be served. I hope they get therapy. I hope they heal. They can never heal in such losing a child. Every parent want the best for their children. They would rather die before their children. That's the way life is supposed to be. Our children are supposed to outlive us. We are not supposed to outlive them. So this is a tragedy. And I hope this tragedy doesn't ever repeat itself in any country in the world. As parents, it is horrible to see and horrible to hear. As a human being, it's really disturbing. So I can imagine how those parents feel. That's why we need to be mindful, not accuse the parents of anything, not even question the parents. Especially not question the parents like certain creators are doing. Certain creators are very obsessed, honestly, with Steve Congalvis. And they need to let the grieving parent be. I wish that Steve and his daughter, Samantha, I guess her name is, or Sam, who's out there, get a way of communication, and I hope they go under family therapy and solve their relationship, because I'm sure that there's always a way to try and amend things, fix things. Although it'll be tough, it isn't impossible. So I try always to be mindful with the parents, be especially mindful towards this case because it's a delicate case. When I'm guessing something, I always say allegedly, because no one has the facts. I don't think the FBI has the facts here. So have a lovely day. Have a lovely week. Bye.